Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Education, the Teachers Talking Terror podcast, where myself, Mike,
and myself, Courtney,
are back with a different format for the month. We tasked ourselves last week with the challenge of watching a different scary movie every day. And to spare you guys and ourselves the pain of recording and uploading a different episode every single day, we opted to just kind of marathon it for the week. And then we would do a kind of what you're watching now, kind of a review show of what we watched, what we thought, and then, being an educational-based podcast, we'll do a class rank at the end. So, we talked earlier this week, bumpy start, a little bit.
Very.
Our format, as a reminder that we chose to do for the week, was, of course, 7 movies, to where you picked 2, I picked 2, we just picked a random 2, and then we did pick a random movie off of the 100 horror movie scratch-off poster that I got for Father's Day. And so, yeah, what would we look at it here? Monday, go ahead.
Sunday was a random shuffle, and it was Cat People.
Okay.
Monday was my choice, Possum.
Okay.
Wednesday was your choice, The Visit.
Right.
I skipped Tuesday. Tuesday was your choice, The Visit.
Yeah,
Wednesday was another random shuffle. It was Patrick. Thursday was your choice, Zombie.
And Friday was your choice again.
Yep, Frontiers.
Yeah, so we shuffled Sunday and Wednesdays.
Yes.
You pick Monday and Friday. I pick Tuesday and Thursday, and then Saturday was the random.
Yes.
Or was the poster one. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so, well, like you unveiled, Sunday's movie was a shuffle, and it was Cat People. And we're just going to, in lieu of taking all day doing a normal coverage, we're just going to kind of wing the plot, give a grade, move on to the next one. Because we do have 7 movies to cover and review at the end. Cat People is an 80s film, which almost automatically means there's a chance it's going to be weird.
And it was.
And when you have David Bowie, Man on the soundtrack, you're going to add an extra level of weirdness to it. And so, yeah, Cat People was weird. Remake of a old 40s or 50s Val Lewton produced movie about basically people that are also cats. Like pumas, basically.
And it's like brought out by their sexual tensions.
I'd say their sexual arousal turns them into giant felines. Woman comes over, her brother picks her up. We assume they have a traditional brother-sister relationship. I don't think she knew. Did she?
No, I don't think she did know.
She didn't know she was a cat person.
Yeah, she just claimed that she didn't love anyone enough to get romantic with them.
Yeah. And so he cats out. We don't see it, but it's alluded to. He cats out, gets captured, put in the zoo, and then she becomes really good friends with, conveniently, everybody that is animal-based in the town. She eventually reaches her sexual peak, cats out, and like I told you, I don't really remember how this movie ends.
She realized you can only go back to human if you kill someone.
Oh, right.
She and her brother realized they can only be romantic with each other because they are like each other. So,
that removes the bestiality piece.
Yes, exactly.
Like staying same species.
The guy that she falls in love with, she just has him like sleep with me, and so I can be a cat and live with the people I belong with. And that was the end of the movie.
Yeah. And so it does qualify as horror because there are some murders, some actually kind of out of nowhere, kind of like when when Ed Begley Jr., which these are names you have no idea, but when Ed Begley Jr. Gets his arm ripped off, like,
yes,
I was like,
when he was feeding.
Yeah, like, okay, this is kind of fun. And so, yeah, there was a lot going on. But bottom line was, movies was just kind of weird. It definitely fits the paradigm of 80s bizarre, and it was well made. The actors and actresses in it were well known. We also talked earlier this week. Our main character has no problem taking her clothes off.
None.
So if you're into that kind of thing, you could check out Cat People. What grade did you give Cat People?
I gave this one a C.
So did I. Yeah, I gave it a C as well. So it was whatever. Like, would I watch it again? I guess would it pass the test of if it's on TV and I'm flipping through with nothing to watch, would I stop? Maybe because I've seen it, but that's only because nothing else is on. So, Cat People gets a C from both of us. All right, off to a good start. Your pick for Monday, Possum.
Yeah.
Fairly much more recent movie. This movie just come out a few years ago. Within the last decade for sure. And yeah, go for it.
So you've got this like puppeteer not really a ventriloquist, but more so of a puppeteer, and he comes home because
those guys are never weird.
Exactly, yeah. He's basically just failed at being a puppeteer, and he comes home to his stepfather / uncle.
Yeah, I'm not sure that relationship. It was
kind of weird. The man, the father figure in his life, he comes home, and he's just basically like forced to confront like trauma from his childhood.
Well, yeah, that, and then like the underlying tone is like he's on the bus and he sees, like, because he's just socially awkward. Like he's on the train and he sees a group of kids and one of them's drawing something. So he just asks the boy, "What are you drawing?" And of course they freak out because you're just this weird guy. Well, then that kid goes missing. Mm-hmm. And so and then you've got, I don't even know our main character's name. It doesn't matter.
No, I don't either.
He finds like a duffel bag in the woods.
Yeah, and I think like it has his puppet in it.
Yeah.
And
which is like a mannequin head on a giant spider body.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Possum came from. Like,
who knows?
Whatever. But I did read that like the I just read a little bit about the movie because, again, like, it was just so weird. And, like, I guess he was abused growing up by this man. And so this puppet is what he used to, like, talk about his trauma.
Gotcha.
And that's why he failed as a puppeteer, because no one wants to take a childhood children to a so
and it's an extremely like disturbing looking puppet.
Yeah, it is. This movie just wasn't what I thought. Like, it was eerie, but it wasn't scary eerie. No. It was just kind of like, okay.
Now, there were a couple instances where like this puppet seemed to be animated and kind of crawled towards the camera that were a little under, but yeah, nothing that you were really afraid of. And then, of course, we end up that the kid that was missing, the stepdad uncle was responsible. Basically, the uncle, his sole purpose in the movie is to create these tense situations for our main character to think he's done.
Yes.
And so he's been the root of all of this trauma. Laughs at him because once he unveils that it was him. And then, of course, our main character takes care of matters at the end, and there's no more uncle. So, that's Puppet.
It was kind of weird.
It was a bizarre movie for sure. I'd seen it once before, and wasn't any more impressed this time than I was last. So, what do you give Puppet? Possum. What do you give Possum?
This one got a D for me.
All right. Yeah, I went C-. I don't know why I went C-. Like, I checked my Letterboxd rating. I gave it 2.5 stars. Did I even give? Maybe it was just 2. I don't even think I gave it 2.5. I think it maybe just been 1.5 or 2. I don't know why I gave it a C-. It deserves lower than that. But I was feeling generous on day 2 of October.
Grading off the curve.
This would be one, having seen it, if I was flipping through the channels, you could just skip it. Like,
I'll just watch nothing.
It was better than Skinamarink, but it still falls in that same vein of a little too artistic for, there's people out there I'm sure love it, and that's just fine. It just, we like a little bit more plot in our movies. So then we get to my first pick. Wednesday, we watched The Visit, M. Night Shyamalan, back to his horror roots. You have, they did, I think, try to do a pretty good job of setting up why some of the irrational decisions were made in this movie. But we've got The Visit, story of a woman who has been estranged from her parents for the majority of her life, but she has 2 children of her own and a failed marriage, and is trying to spark a relationship with another man. At the same time, her children want to meet their grandparents. So without seeing them, the mom orchestrates a week-long trip. She slaps her kids on a train or a bus or whatever. They end up at the grandparents who meet them at the station, and they just have a fun-filled week of grandmotherly, fatherly, grandchildrenly activities like baking cookies and playing board games and finding your grandpa's dirty diapers.
And being chased by your grandma
While playing hide and seek
under the porch.
Meanwhile, it's a found footage film because our granddaughter of the movie is an aspiring documentary filmmaker, luckily. And the son is possibly the most annoying child on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. He feels he has a career
Yeah.
in improvisational rapping that is not only grating to hear, but even more terrible just because he's not good at it.
Yeah. And he thinks he is the hottest
Yes.
kid to walk the earth.
Oh
and
my! He's the kind of kid that if he tripped on the sidewalk, you'd probably laugh before you checked on him because
yes.
he was annoying. Anyway, long story short, all these eerie things start to happen. Grandma's got sundowners where she goes kind of bonkers after dark. You know, the kids kind of keep walking in on these eerie things, setting cameras up. It isn't until the end of the movie where they Zoom call with their mom a lot, but grandparents are never around when they do so. And if you'd seen the movie before, I mean, that's a huge red herring. If you hadn't seen it, you kind of let it go because they do a decent job of explaining why mom doesn't want to see the grandparents.
Yes.
Well, come to find out that grandma and grandpa volunteer at like a mental health facility, and these aren't their grandparents. The grandparents have been murdered by these 2 mental health patients that have escaped and assume the identity of the grandparents because they'd been talking for so long about visiting with their grandkids that they got jealous and came and they murdered the grandparents, took over their role, and basically have just been with these kids living the dream for a week.
Yeah.
The kids figure it out, and they're safe. The kids make it out, you know.
Yeah.
It's but it had a twist ending, which is what M. Night Shyamalan is widely known for. Up to this point, I do believe this is probably our best movie of the month.
Easily.
You got anything to add on The Visit?
No, not really.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cut and dry plot. We're going to lay it out there. We're going to do a bunch of creepy things. You know, almost had kind of a Hansel and Gretel feel to it.
Yes. Yeah, it did.
You know, and then just weird, like, and I'm glad that the kids recognize the weirdness of the grandparents, too. Like, one point, Grandma asks the granddaughter to clean the inside of the oven. And, pressures her into crawling all the way inside this largest oven in existence. To where she realizes that this is kind of odd, but okay. You know, and it is. They fall off the deep end. And, like I said, they end up surviving. And the grandparent imposters do not. So... I'd like to think that mom won't leave her kids with strangers because really, if you've been estranged from your parents for, it was like 30 years or something like that your parents are strangers. Yeah,
they're not your parents anymore.
Don't drop your kids off for a week because they want to meet grandma and grandpa. So, lesson learned there. I gave The Visit a B+.
So did I.
Oh, nice. Look at us go. Look at us go. And then we're back into the trash.
Patrick.
Back in the 80s, late 70s, 80s, something like that. We're in a British film, Patrick, about the movie starts out pretty solid, really.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, we've got a boy who lives with his mom, and we're talking boy, we're talking like an adult man.
Yeah, we're talking 26 still lives in the basement.
Yeah, so we got a son that lives with his mom, and his mom is just this revolving door of bedroom visitors, like bringing home a different man all the time. She wants him to watch, she wants him to hear. Like, it's really disturbing. Patrick gets sick of it, and when mom and Wednesday's lover are taking a bath together, he just tosses like a hot iron or something and like basically electrocutes him to death.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, really solid opening. Like when he catches whatever that hot coil was, it felt just like a cook, you know, like one of the plug-in hot plate things. Like just the burning flesh around. Like, it was pretty good. That's about all you get out of Patrick.
Yeah,
because he spends the entire rest of the movie in bed in a coma.
It's so, I don't know, it's so weird. And like this freshly divorced nurse starts taking care of him, and weird things start happening with her, and come to find out, like, he's the one doing all of this. No one believes her
because he's telekinetic.
Yeah, and it's just like really weird. And
basically he develops a crush on his nurses, and then telepathically makes things happen in their life. I don't know. It's telekinesis, and at least in my opinion, is not a real thing. But there's just like vampires aren't. But there's still like a set of rules around it that need to apply. Like, you know, vampires aren't real, but everybody knows a stake to the heart. They drink blood. Like, there's still like ground rules.
Yeah.
Which is why when Twilight comes out and you have sparkling daylit vampires, it just doesn't work. Well, some of the rules that I understand for telekinesis are, you still have to be, visibly seeing what you're controlling.
Yeah.
You know, whereas Patrick here is laying in a bed and he's controlling people swimming elsewhere. Like, it doesn't add up. So Patrick basically uses his telekinetic powers to control the lives of these nurses in hopes that they stay with him. And then, of course, she doesn't. And he fights back. I don't know. It was dull and slow and boring and pretty uneventful, especially after that strong start.
Yeah.
But it was better than Possum.
It was.
It was better than Possum. But yeah, I don't know. It's about it. Like, it's not a terrible story.
No.
But fitting into the horror genre, it just doesn't. I don't know. I didn't really see where it fit. I'd call it more of a drama, maybe. Like, it's not even suspenseful. It's not a thriller. It's just a movie.
Yeah.
So, what'd you give Patrick?
I gave Patrick a D.
It gets a second. It's your second D of the week.
That, you know, I was kind of mean this week. Like,
that's fair. You told me you were gonna be.
I was that cranky teacher that was like, no one understood the assignment this week, and even though that's probably my fault because no one understood it.
I dropped a C on Patrick for the same reason I dropped a C on Cat People. That, like, it was entertaining enough. Like, it didn't scratch my horror itch, but it did satisfy the fact that there was a plot in front of me that was somewhat creative. You know, like, kudos to that actor too. Every scene he's in, he's got his eyes wide open. Like, that's gotta be hard to just lay perfectly still all the time. Except for spitting. He was a spitter.
I just very strongly dislike this movie. Like, I don't know. I just, like you mentioned, like, he didn't see anything he was controlling.
No, it didn't make sense.
Like,
and it wasn't even like cool, like, special effects, like moving things around. It was just
like, Matilda had better telekinesis than Patrick did.
Matilda's much better telepathic.
Yeah, like, I was
her
just
telekinesis is on point compared to Patrick here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, SC, nothing failed for me this week. Just to be clear, again, there was a plot. Would I watch it again, flipping through the channels? No, I've seen it. I may even delete it off my hard drive because it's like you're just taking up space.
Yeah, don't waste the space on this one.
I felt we ended on a pretty strong 3 movies. I know you don't agree, and this is where I'm interested because we had talked a little bit prior to Zombie about your thoughts, but we really haven't talked much outside of that. So Thursday was my second pick, and it was Zombie, the Lucio Fulci classic. I love this movie. It's so trash, but I so love it. Zombie is movie kicks off pretty solid. You get a empty schooner in like Hudson Bay or whatever. They're outside of New York. There's a zombie on it, and the zombie gets dropped into the water. Then we cut back to a newspaper crew. Long story short, there's a doctor doing experiments in some Caribbean island. And the doctor happens to be the father of our lead female, who then gets a newspaper reporter or TV reporter or whatever to go down to the island with her to find her dad. And when she gets there, there's zombies. I mean, that's really about it. And there's people that die, and I don't know. It's just, it's a very thin plot to get a bunch of gore in.
Yeah.
So we've got zombie fighting a tiger shark underwater.
Yeah. I don't know. This one was just kind of cheesy.
Oh, I know. That's what's great about it.
It was my least favorite zombie movie we've watched.
That's okay. We have a zombie fighting a tiger shark underwater. We have a zombie pulling a woman's face, like her eyeball, into splintered wood, and we get like extreme close up of eye piercing.
Yeah,
we've got a zombie rising from the ground with a woman who has every opportunity to run away, but just stands there and gets her throat ripped out by said zombie. And that's just 3. The zombie versus shark is a very popular clip from this movie. There's a chance I probably showed it in your math class in high school. Like, I would show this often. I'm like, you guys got to see this. There's a zombie fighting a shark, and it's a legit man, like with no scuba gear on.
Yeah,
it's a dude holding his breath underwater, dressed as a zombie, like wrestling a live tiger shark. So, what do you think? What do you got? Anything you want to add?
I don't know. No, it's this. Oh my goodness. This one was just kind of like, I felt like it was like Gilligan's Island meets zombies.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
And I don't know. Like it was okay.
What'd you think of the ending? It was a pretty dire ending. They leave the island and get back to New York, only to find out that the city of New York and soon America has been overrun by zombies.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, I feel like, again, I really like zombie movies for the horror or the gore of it, but I feel like every zombie movie ends the same. Like,
they do.
Like, oh, now we've got hands popping up out of the graves, and here they come.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh man, really? I knew how it's going to end, I felt like, but it was not a bad movie.
It's that image of the zombies walking across the Brooklyn Bridge is pretty iconic.
Yeah.
Like, you've still got like the World Trade Center. I mean, you've got the New York skyline.
Yeah.
And these zombies it's
just
I don't know,
making their way across it.
Yeah. I know, it's pretty dire. Like, oh man, like it was just contained to this island.
Yeah, and now it's everywhere.
But that fat zombie at the beginning that fell in the water made it to shore, and so what do you give Zombies?
Zombies got a B for me.
I got a B for me as well. Nice. Okay. I was expecting much worse when you're like, well,
no.
But I guess even like bad pizza is still pizza, right?
Right.
It's a bad zombie movie, but it's still a zombie movie.
There was still gore, and that's
And it's old enough and the budget was small enough that it's like it couldn't be perfect gore. Like
right.
you knew when that woman's head was being pulled closer and closer to that splintered piece of wood. You knew what was going to happen. And of
Yes.
course when they cut away and it is so clearly a fake head. But
Yeah.
whatever. Like for me,
Yeah.
I lean into. I'm like, good for you. Like whatever. You
It was
didn't
the
try
thought
to.
that counts.
Yeah, it's like you had an idea and you went with it, and even if it didn't quite pull off as 100% effective, you did it. So good for you, Lucio Fulci. There are other Fulci movies that are just chock full of gore, that just imaginative with really no reason. There's one movie, I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but like a woman they're in a car and a woman's not feeling well and literally vomits up her organs. And to think what that actress had to go through, that she, if I remember correctly reading the trivia, she did eat all of the raw organs and then literally vomited them all back up.
Oh, that's awful.
And so it's like all these like sheep and pig parts that they're just falling out of her mouth. And it's like, oh, like you couldn't do special effects, so you literally just paid this woman to do it.
Yeah.
So
Ugh.
yeah, it's pretty gory, but there's a lot of good stuff there. There's another Fulci movie where a man just gets overrun by tarantulas, and the actor is laying there as literally like dozens of tarantulas are just crawling all over his face and all just not no CGI. This is lay down, Henry. We're gonna just drench you with tarantulas, and he just does it, and it's like that's got to be terrifying. So all right, double B for zombie. Okay, your other pick,
Yeah.
Frontiers. I will
You
give you
know-
this. I picked a foreign film, but at least I had at least I gave you a movie that was dubbed. Yeah. You pick a French film, Frontiers.
Yeah. And you warned me. You said, like, hey, I'm just going to let you know, like, this is a foreign film. And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. It was in fact not okay.
You don't like to read.
No. No. Which is crazy. Like, as a teacher, like, I hate reading.
You hate math too, so
Yeah, I know.
Why did you become a teacher?
I don't know. I like reading children's books.
Well, yeah, those are pretty straightforward.
But yeah, this is about like this group of thieves, and they're leaving Paris, and while they're escaping, it's just, I don't know. I did not like this movie.
There was a lot of political
Yes.
turmoil going on in Paris.
Yes.
And so leading to a lot of riots, and they basically just capitalized on the looting during the riots. And were getting out of getting out of Paris because, well, they were being chased and attempted to be apprehended. So we got to get out of Dodge. And they'd killed a couple of police officers, and things got pretty hairy.
Yeah, this was not for me.
Yeah, then as they left, they split up because we got a main female that her brother got shot, so she and her on again, off again boyfriend were dropping brother off at the hospital. Meanwhile, the other two guys they're just ahead.
Yeah.
Well, they stop at this inn because they're heading elsewhere. They're basically leaving the country, and they stopped at an inn for the night. Well, this inn is run by neo-Nazis. And we are talking like full-blown cosplay Nazis here.
Yeah.
And they really, like neo-Nazi cannibals on top of it. So the one issue I had with this movie that I will give this to you. Most, I feel, a good portion of subtitled movies that I've seen in my life rarely have a lot of action going on and dialogue going on.
And this had
So
so much action going on.
it's easy to keep up with reading the subtitles because they usually
Yes.
aren't doing anything when they're talking. They're just talking. So you've got the dialogue, and then they stop the dialogue to do the action, which you don't need subtitles for. This movie did all of it at the same time.
Yeah, and
So
that's just ugh.
it's really hard to read subtitles when I'm also watching the action.
Yeah.
Special effects were much better. I'd not heard of
Hmm.
this movie. This movie's like it's like 2012 or something like that. You know, it's been out a while. Um, but I was impressed with the quality of the effects and the gore. They went after it. I mean, you had a guy who had his fingers blown off, and they showed it.
Yeah.
And a guy had both his Achilles ripped out,
Hmm. That
and they
gets
showed
me.
it. Yeah, me too. Guy strung up by his heels, like like you're splitting a deer. There was a lot of effective gore in here, and I don't know. Yeah, I guess it qualifies as horror because you've got cannibals and et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, it never really let up. It was going the whole time, and
Yeah,
so
and that's just where, like, because it's not even like, because I'm a fast reader, like, I comprehend things well, but I don't know, like, I only have one set of eyes, and I don't have
right,
two eyes that look different directions,
right.
so I can't focus on both things. And so it's like, I felt like I missed a lot of the movie because I was just trying to keep up, and I just,
Well, there's just a lot going on.
yeah,
There
I did
were there
not,
were I think there were too many characters. Like even nobody in this movie is a good guy. Because again, we got thieves versus
yeah,
thief, police, like cop killers versus neo Nazis. So nobody's a good
yeah,
guy. But at the core, everybody dies except for the two pregnant women. One of them being one of the neo Nazis, the other one being our main
hmm,
character because she happened to be pregnant. And so the neo-Nazi pregnant lady was protective of the new pregnant lady and freed her, and everybody else dies. And then in an instant where you think the new pregnant lady is going to like befriend the neo-Nazi pregnant lady, she just hops in the car and drives off.
yeah,
Like, leaving the Nazi pregnant lady to just be there around all these corpses.
hmm,
And that was Frontiers. Which, curious what your grade is.
a D minus.
Oh, worst one of the week?
Yes, it was. I couldn't do it. I feel as if this one took me the longest to watch because I was like I just wanted to text you and be like, I'm not watching it.
You could have.
But I was like, Courtney, you picked this movie, watch it.
Well,
Yeah, I just nope, not me.
I gave it a B.
Wow.
I I the not for the storyline because the storyline was pretty
Right.
junk, but
Yeah.
the gore was good. The performances I thought were solid. Um, and the action, I mean, there was plenty of action. It
Yeah.
did run a little long. Like it just felt like okay, we've seen this before. But I give it a B, if anything, for the commitment of the performances.
Yeah.
Like when our main lady was gonna when they broke the chain in the cell and she was gonna
Mhm.
escape and she dug all of that like mud out so that she
Of
could
like that
like
pig pen.
submerge, go
Yeah.
under.
Yeah.
I'm like, you really did that, lady.
That's dedication.
I'm sure, like, even if that was filmed on a set, which I don't believe it was, like, those were still real pigs and that was
Mhm.
real mud. Like, you did submerge yourself in that,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
bacteria infested water
Yeah.
to do that part. That wasn't like, we'll just bring in like chocolate milk, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
No, you were really under there. So, yeah, it got a B from me. It got a B from me. Man, you'd rather watch Patrick again?
I think so, yeah. At least I knew what Patrick was saying.
No, he didn't say anything. He typed it out with his mind. Which brings us to yesterday's film. We're recording this on a Sunday, by the way. Which brings us to yesterday's film, and this was the scratch-off film of the week. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, starring Michael Rooker, who went on to play Merle in The Walking Dead and Yondu in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, amongst other things. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, 80s movie, and honestly, in my, the scariest movie we watched all week.
I liked this movie.
This movie at its core is terrifying.
Yes.
Now, are you scared when you walk away from it? No. You know, it's not one of those you're going to lose sleep over, and it's not a jump scare kind of movie. But I am so thankful for how far we've come with forensics and law enforcement that for something like this to happen today, it just doesn't. You don't hear about serial killers much anymore.
Right.
Growing up in the 80s, they were all over the place because forensics hadn't caught up to that yet. You know, and granted, politicians wanted to blame the movies, which, no, crazy is crazy. But I think we've come a long way to where now we have obviously more mass killings than we do serial killings because they get caught with DNA testing and hair strands, et cetera, et cetera. Back then we didn't have it. So this movie was scary.
Yeah, it was.
Henry, go ahead.
It was scary in the fact that, like, you have two different felons that have been let out of prison, and like one was drugs and one killed their mom.
Right.
Like, totally different, but they also just related on that sick, messed up level.
Yeah. We've done time. We're both broken. We have that in common. And it's like bad breeds bad. Like,
yeah.
You know, they talk about marijuana being a gateway drug. Like, if you smoke weed, you're more open to other drugs. And it's like with Otis, you know, he was a bad dude, but what he got arrested for and imprisoned for was just what they caught him on. Like,
right.
he was worse than what he got arrested for.
Yes.
Like, he was
dirty.
He was worse to me in this movie than Henry was.
Yes, because at least maybe Henry, I mean, I'm not saying it's okay to kill your mom, but like maybe he killed her because like Patrick, you know, like he just had enough.
Right.
You know, and so it was bad. Like, they became friends. It was Otis's sister, right?
Yeah.
That also lived with him, and Henry became, you know, pretty fond of her, and they just get to where now, like, they're feeding off of each other, and they're recording it, rewatching it, and this, I think, is where Otis is like, it really tickles his fancy to kill people, because he's just rewatching these murders, and
there's really not a plot to this movie. Henry comes to Chicago, moves in with Otis. We see in the opening credits just this string of dead bodies, and and they're not all dead the same way, but they're just strewn throughout, which we pick up even without them telling us it's Henry. And I mean, the title is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. But yeah, Henry that's just what he does. Like, he doesn't seem to get any jollies from it either. Like, it's just he has an urge and he goes and kills. But he's very methodical about it, and he's very calculated. Like the woman that he followed for seemingly like an hour, only to find out when he pulled up to the house that, like, he was planning on murdering her then, but then her husband came out.
Yeah.
So he just waited and came back. Like, you know, he's very methodical and mechanical about his quote unquote work. And when he brings Otis in, like, it's almost like an apprentice. Like, he's educating him in how to do it. And he has no qualms. He'll kill anybody.
Yeah. And Otis is like that again, I'm just basing this off Twilight, but that fresh vampire that can't control himself.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
he just has to kill.
Right. And you almost get a sense that Henry regrets
Yes.
getting Otis involved because, like you said, Otis will. They got their hands on a camcorder, so now they're recording the murders. But then Otis just watches them, or like rewatches them.
Yeah.
Like he gets aroused by them, by the same murder, and he's just such a pig of a person, just so disgusting. You know, you feel almost like Henry's got a code he lives by.
Yes.
Because he's very protective of Otis's sister.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Becky. Because Otis is gross towards his sister.
Yeah.
And like Henry, no, you're not going to do this. Culminates with Henry goes out to do a murder and comes home and Otis is raping his sister.
Yeah.
Who he's been attempting to do something similar at different points in the movie. And she's taken a liking to Henry. Henry ends up killing Otis because, I mean, he had to.
Yeah.
And really, Grant, Otis had it coming. Like,
yes.
And the ending of this movie is so somber. Like, you think Becky has saved him. Really, it's like, come back to my hometown with me. You know, I love you, Henry. And I guess I love you too. You know, he's just not a real open book, that one. Pull into a motel, stay the night, and when they leave, Henry leaves.
Yeah.
And
with a suitcase.
Even at first you think, oh, you know, that Henry just left her.
Yeah.
And then he stops along the way and takes a bloody suitcase out of the back of the car and just leaves it alongside the road. And it's like, they showed Henry murder, or they at least showed the murdered bodies throughout the entire movie, except this one.
Yeah.
We know what's in that suitcase.
Yeah. I mean, there's blood all over the outside of it.
And we don't like it. Because obviously he had to carve her up to fit her in a suitcase. And it's like, we watch it and we're like, oh man, like, this woman cared about you. You cared about her. But you couldn't fight that urge.
Yeah.
And took her out. Oh, such a gut-wrenching movie.
Yeah. This was my favorite movie, though.
What'd you give it?
I gave it an A-.
Okay, I gave it a B+. Gave it a B+. I honestly, I think I gave it a B+ because as much as I enjoyed the movie, this is not one you probably want to watch again. You know what I mean? Like, it just, because you just feel dirty. Like, the movie's over and you just feel gross.
And it even the lighting in the movie was just like, everything was just so dark about this movie. I felt like that it was just like a gross movie.
Yeah, it just felt gross. Like, Chicago looked gross. Like, especially the areas they were in. Everything in this movie was just, it felt like a documentary.
Yeah.
Like, it just, like we had a film crew walking around. It just, it's just, you finish this movie and you need to go take a shower because you just, I mean, you watch it, you're like, hey, that was well done. As a movie, that was well done. And that's also part of where my B+ came from, was like, this wasn't real. Like, you know, so this was just a movie. It was a well done movie. It got the feeling out of me it was trying to get.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I can't give an A+ to this because it just feels too gross. There's a lot of reviewers online there's a lot of reviews that are like, this movie was perfect.
Yeah.
You know, because it accomplished everything it set out to do. And it did. But it's just, you feel icky when you're done. So, yeah, B+ for me, A- for you. Well, that's a quick coverage of our 7 movies for the week.
Yes.
Okay. Now, we've also revealed the grades. Like I talked before, I don't remember if it was pre-show or right at the beginning. My rankings for the week are not the same as my grades. They don't go in grade order. So I think, why don't we, do we want to reveal like our bottom? Like, we'll go starting at the bottom and we'll each give our own so that we're building our list together. All right. What was your worst movie, your worst ranked movie of the week?
All right. Rolling in at number 7 is Frontiers.
My number 7 was Possum. All right. And we've already stated our case as to
Yes,
why, so
yes.
we could just get through the ratings here.
My number 6 is Possum.
My number 6 was Patrick.
Number 5 is Patrick for me.
Number 5 was Cat People for me.
I'm like one behind you.
A little bit.
Number 4 was Cat People.
Number 4 was Frontiers for me.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it was at your bottom, so.
Yeah. Zombie was number 3 for me.
Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer was number 3 for me.
Oh, okay.
Because I gave it a high grade. It was tied for my highest grade of the week. Mm-hmm. But there's no rewatchability in this movie. For me, at least. Okay. You probably watched it 3 times since.
I liked it, yeah.
I did like it, but yes, again, I just feel dirty watching it.
Yes, and I like watching those, like the documentaries where it is, like, the girl who escapes and movies like that. I love them. What was your number 2?
My number 2 is The Visit.
Okay, mine was 2.
Okay. And then obviously we got number 1s. What was your number 1?
Henry, the Portrait of a Serial Killer.
My number 1 was Zombie. Of the movies on this list, that one has the most rewatchability for me. I've seen that movie the most. The Visit was a lot of fun, but once that reveal,
yes,
it's like any M. Night Shyamalan movie. You might watch it twice. You watch it once to be shocked, then you watch it again to see if you could pick up the clues. But after that, it's like it's been ruined for you. Zombie for me though, I will watch a man fight a shark. While honestly, you might as well call her a naked lady. I mean, she was a topless scuba diver, but what was that bikini bottom she had on?
Yeah, nothing.
Even my wife was like, just take it off. Like, it's doing nothing for you.
Yes.
It was like she's scuba diving around, really looking for nothing.
Yeah, she just wanted to go for a dip. Like,
finds a zombie, or sees the shark. The shark's coming for her, and then a zombie comes out for her. And then she just leaves and the zombie and shark battle it out. I'm like, I'll watch that. I'll watch that all the time. So yeah, my number 1 was Zombie for the week.
All right.
Fair enough. All right. So hey, you just picked your favorite movie of the week was from the 80s.
Yeah, it was. I'm surprised. But I like how dirty it was because
it's pretty grimy.
See, I'm that weirdo that it's like if I could go in and talk to a prisoner and just ask him, like, why'd you do this? What was going through your head? Like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I am that weirdo.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll let you have that.
Monday through Friday, I'm singing color songs and days of the week. But Saturday and Sunday, I wonder what's going through.
Well, Monday through Friday, you feel like that prisoner.
Yes.
No, I really did enjoy that movie. Just icky. It's just an icky movie.
It was.
One of the movies that was the cause of the new NC-17 rating at the time. It used to top out at R rating. Movies are rated R, and if it was more extreme than R, it got an X rating. Well, X rating at the time was mainly for pornography.
Okay.
And so this movie came out. There's a couple others in the same kind of time frame that came out that were worse than an R. Which, by today's standards, no, this movie was pretty tame compared to today's standards. But, like, it's in some essences, it's a handbook for serial killers.
Yeah, I mean, because it does. It talks about, like, you got to do it different ways.
Yeah,
they don't expect it.
Yeah, you do it the same way every time, they're gonna catch you. And it's like, oh man, how many serial killers have seen this that are like, or potential serial killers have seen this, and that's what I needed. That's all I needed was that education. But yeah, this movie was one of the catalysts for an NC-17 rating because it was worse than an R. Like, it should be for adult eyes only. Yeah. But it's not pornographic. So what do we do? Well, they just created a new rating for it. So, okay. First week's in the books. Looking at the rest of the month, we got a lot of really good stuff. A lot of stuff I haven't seen. A lot more stuff you haven't seen. Yeah. But I kind of like keeping it under wraps of what we're going to be watching. Yes. And just covering when we cover. So, social media wise, you guys could find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Again, find us wherever you listen to your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hi. And other than that, we've got the first week of October in the bag. So I am, I don't think I'm at like 10 or 11 horror films already for the month. And I'm not even trying, honestly. I'm not even working that hard. But yeah, we'll get through this next week. We did make a one change there for Thursday the 12th. And this week is shaping up to be a better week than one we just covered. So
this week, I mean, I think this week will be a pretty good week.
Yeah, it'll be a good week. Like I said, I watched one this morning. I'll try to fit another one in this afternoon. But with the exception, let's see, four of these movies are going to be brand new viewings for me.
Awesome.
So if those movies are garbage, this week could go south in a hurry.
Yeah.
Like I know they're all brand new viewings for you, but I've only seen 3 of them, and the 3 that I've seen are very solid films.
Okay.
The one, we'll kind of give a little bit of a hint here, without naming the title. The one from yesterday, which I caught up with today, has scientifically been proven to be the scariest movie of all time.
I will be watching it in the daytime then.
The reason why it was scientifically is they were monitoring heart rates. They subjected viewers to, I think they went through lists and they found like the top like 35 horror movies of all time. Scariest movies of all time. And then they connected people to heart monitors and were checking their heart rate during each of the movies. And then of course ran the data, et cetera, et cetera. And the movie for yesterday, which we'll of course cover next week, it was the top of scariest movie of all time. So take it as you will. Like, I think that is different opinion for everybody, but scientifically it's gotten some attention because of that. So I do enjoy the film, but I've seen things that make me feel eerier. So but you got anything to sign off with?
Have a great week and enjoy the finally cool weather.
No kidding. This was fun. I liked this format.
Yes,
this will be a fun run for the month. So, all right. Well, for Deducation, I'm Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
We'll see you guys next week where we cover another 7 movies.
Bye.